There we go. Sorry, bit of an odd moment here. YouTube has updated its thing, and it said I was going live like a minute ago, and I've been staring off in space waiting for something to happen. So I apologise if you've caught me just looking gormless there. Anyway, good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty, and I'm doing the first of these 2 reviews because, yeah, there's going to be another 2 a day, and I think I'm going to have to come back on Saturday because I've still got an Aftershock Comics horror one I want to do, and I'm down to 1 copy of that one, so I'm going to try and get that done by the end of the day. And then I've got Superman and the Authority, which I don't have to worry about because I've got my own copy of that one, so that one's going to be on Saturday. So if you at least know what's coming up, like, subscribe, do the thing so you don't miss out on anything. But as I say, today we're doing Dark Blood. Now this, I think, is the 3rd one this week where we're dealing with somebody who's not specifically a comic book writer. Latoya Morgan, I believe her name is. Yeah, Latoya Morgan. She's a screenwriter. She's a screenwriter more than anything else, as far as I'm aware. I've not looked really into it. All I did was quickly check to see vaguely who this person was. When I was reading about this book, I'd heard that she was somebody who wasn't, who hadn't cut their teeth on comic book writing before. So it's like, okay, this kind of works with the theme of the week, doesn't it? Let's have a look how this one works out. And before we get into that, the writing and the pacing and all manner of comic book related things, we're going to talk about the artwork because that is just something which stands out straight away for me. I've just flashed you the cover there. That is a nice, bold cover. You don't really get like much from it in terms of story, but you get a sense of stuff. There are airplanes flying over Germany. You don't get a sense of time, but maybe from the look of the planes, maybe thinking Second World War. I like the bold, like, stride of the character moving towards camera. But if anything, it's reasonably simple. Not in a bad way, but just it's bold more than detailed. Then you flip the page, and you are treated to an absolute delight of intricacy. Quite nice bits of perspective, little details. You've got a nice luminous, slightly bigger than normal. They tell you what time of year, well, tell you what year it is, but the snow on the ground in Alabama shows you it's actually really cold winter's night. And the cars and the timing, everything just kind of jumps at you and makes perfect sense. It's brilliant. Love it. And throughout, the detail is absolutely amazing. There's only a couple of instances during some fight scene where the artist falls into what I don't know a particular name for it, but it's basically just like blanking out the backgrounds. Now, it's not the end of the world because what you should be focusing on here is the action. Something weird has just gone on. You can tell by the glowing outlines around the randomly hovering objects there. So your focus shouldn't necessarily be on the brick walls and the snow on the ground. But they don't leave that for long. Next page, you get it all back when you actually get much more of a still shot, and it gives you a chance to focus on what's going on there. That kind of visual storytelling is really cool, and there's plenty of good examples of that throughout. There's some really high-octane stuff of the gentleman, Double A, who was a fighter pilot in the Second World War, who went down. His plane was shot out from under him, and his parachute guidelines basically were burning, and he was plummeting certainly to his death. But because this story is kind of set over multiple kind of time frame things, you know that he didn't die. You also know that the strange things are happening tonight, some kind of supernatural thing, is the night of the variants, as it's like the very first line of the comic book. So you're led to fall down the path of there is a big thing happening here. That maybe it's not just to do with this character. Maybe there's something else going on, because the night of the variants, that doesn't sound like just an instance of one dude in an alleyway. That sounds like there's something big, that it's so big that it needed a name, the night of the variants. It's just chock full of potential. But then you jump back to what was happening in the Second World War, and then at the end of it, you jump back to, I think it was 6 months before the night of the variants, or something along those lines. Let me check my timing on this one. 6 months before the variants, yes. And to be continued. So there's obviously big happenings going on here. And the comic spends an awful lot of time just building for that. And it does it in a very confident way. It doesn't rush anything. It lets the story play itself out. It takes as long as it needs to get to an action sequence. And when the action sequence plays out, it does it in huge swathes of motion and movement. It looks brilliant. But that takes away from the dialogue kind of thing, and the writing slows right down at that point. It doesn't feel necessary to do like the Marvel trick of having somebody leaping from one thing to another and having a speech bubble come out, which would take you like an entire minute to say. But now I have to talk about the writing. I've realized I'm almost out of time. So it's excellent writing. It really, really is. Very much sense of place and time. There is an awful lot in here which is going to be heavily political, and it might bug some people. But to be honest, if you're the kind of person who gets bugged by this, you're probably the kind of person who, well, let's face it, probably don't like many of my videos. I talk about this kind of thing. It's dealing with 1950s racism in Alabama, and it does it very effectively. It uses terminology which would be apt for the time, and it puts people in dangerous situations, and does the whole thing of a black person away from the scene must be the guilty person, regardless of what's actually going on. And the black person responds with that because they have a right to be scared. This is a time where the police coming to arrest a black man for something bad going wrong is not going to go well for anyone. And all this comes out really nicely more in the kind of like I don't want to say the backstory because you actually get to see it happen, but it's not like really the focus of it. There's so much else going on that it feels like it's setting flavor rather than the point of it. But because it is so much a part of the ubiquitous background of the world, that is in and of itself really important. Cannot take that away from anything. In fact, there's so many things about this that I like. Genuinely cool book. It's been selling out everywhere, so if you're looking to find a comic store that's got any in, grab one and you'll not be disappointed. That's it for now. I'll be back later on today. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.